it really isn't an innovation budget play anymore. It's a
No.
kind of core media plan play. Just like social, just like TV, the audience is just as big, the opportunity is just as big.
Hello, party people. It's time for another week of Brands in Play. I'm Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse.
And I'm Albane Priou, Insights and Partnership Director at Geek.
This week is packed. We got Lady Gaga on Roblox, Tim Sweeney from Epic Games claps back at the Wall Street Journal. Meta Horizon Worlds is now accessible via Instagram and Facebook, and you can finally fly and watch anime at the same time because Crunchyroll comes to Delta Airlines.
That's right. And this week, I went into McDonaldland on Fortnite for a real-time review, and we are going to chat to the creative director behind the game, Ryan Norrington from Metavision.
Sounds tasty. And if you like what you hear, subscribe, follow, and comment. We want to hear from you.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Hello, Nick. How are we this week?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Is there anything new this week for you?
Yeah, busy week as always. I have a couple updates that I'm proud to announce. We just found out that Sawhorse has made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies.
Oh, wow.
So super excited about that. I also noticed that there's a bunch of other companies that we collaborate with that also made that list. So just props to them.
That's incredible. Congrats. It's huge.
Thanks. Yeah, it's exciting news and announcement. And on top of that, South by Southwest 2026 has put out their panel picker. So this is where different companies and different thought leaders submit their panels to be voted on, and the ones that win actually end up in the program.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I'm going for one about immersive marketing. The information will be in the show notes. I think anyone who's attended any of our live panels can attest to the fact that they're pretty entertaining and fun. So please vote for me.
Yeah, I can attest that Sawhorse knows how to throw really interesting insight, but also really cool events that, never gets boring, which is great. Especially
Thank
as
you.
South by Southwest, you want something that's entertaining. That's why you go there. Should we kick off with the news? There's a lot to cover, I think, and unpack this week. So I'll kick things off with Lady Gaga that is going to land on Dress to Impress as of tomorrow, which is really exciting. As I think, as we know, there's a less comms, I would say, around Dress to Impress. I think everyone is talking about Grow a Garden at the moment still, but Dress to Impress was the game that really put Roblox, I would say, on the map outside of the Roblox community, and they still are within the top 20 most visited experiences on Roblox. Just this week alone, I was checking Geek, and they had 73 million visits, which is insane, like a really big number. And quite interesting to see Lady Gaga going there. I think they've been really picky about who they collaborate. Last collaboration they've done is Charlie XCX. And I'm sure a lot of brands are trying to get in, or fashion brands are trying to get in, but they seem to be incredibly cautious about who they partner with. So I thought it was really, really cool that they've done something with Lady Gaga. And I'm not sure if you saw the trailer, but it's the replica of her Mayhem Ball World Tour opening, where it's like this opera scene. She's at the top with like this massive gown. So they replicate that in a Dress to Impress Roblox style, which I thought was really cool. So really loved it. Have you seen the trailer?
No, I haven't, but I want to check it out. It sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, it's a great game, and I think it just makes sense for it. It's actually Charlie XCX and Lady Gaga are like perfect fits for the audience.
Yeah,
I was
I will say, like, I definitely respect Dress to Impress because they're such a big game that they can basically work with anybody, and they can
yeah,
have like branded integrations every single weekend and like really just stacking up the cash. But they're very selective about
that's
which
right.
partners they choose to bring in, so they really bring in really relevant collaboration branded partnerships, and you got to respect that. Now, jumping over to the other side, the Fortnite side, I found an interesting story that I wanted to bring up because I got so excited by it. So this is all about how Epic Games' Tim Sweeney calls bullshit on the Wall Street Journal. So I guess there was an article that came out in the journal talking about how the Fortnite Disney partnership was moving really slowly,
Yeah.
and there was some like grumblings about it not progressing well. And so the founder, Tim Sweeney, he went out publicly and he said that the partnership was moving around 10 times faster than any typical media partnership. And then he even revealed that the Wall Street Journal chose not to print Epic's, official rebuttal.
Response. Yeah.
Right. And so, obviously that feels bias. And, I just really want to take a minute to like appreciate and respect this guy
Yeah.
because he is such a gangster. Like, if you've seen
He is.
him, like, give a talk, you wouldn't think so. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not that charismatic. It's kind of like, what is up with this guy? But, like, you look at his actions, and he is such a dynamic leader. He's gone up against Apple and Google app stores in court, and he's won both times,
Mhm.
proving that they're monopolies, like, really paving the way for Epic and Fortnite to show up, in different ways in these app stores.
Mhm.
And, you know, here's an example of just, speaking truth to power and publicly going out and just railing against the Wall Street Journal. And yeah, I mean, he's a leader that gets results. So
Yeah.
thought this was cool. What do you
I
think?
agree. I mean, I'm really biased. I'm a huge fan of Tim Sweeney. I think he's because like what they've done with Google and Apple, it also impacts the whole gaming industry. I think it's always been an issue for a lot of mobile games, indie developers that are launching their app. The fact that there is this huge revenue share is very tough when you're at the start of your journey. And yeah, I just really love him because he just fights for what's fair within the industry, not just Fortnite.
Yeah, not just his company. It's like he's an advocate for the gaming industry and a serious leader.
You can really tell at Unreal Fest, like they really care about creators and they just want to make sure that they have the best tool, the best creator economy, and the best platforms to be able to publish their games. So they're really making wave and trying to get more people to create cool stories, and grow the industry as a whole. It's not just about them. It's about growing the industry as a whole. So I'm a big fan. I think he's great.
Yep. Well, one day we're gonna have him on the show. Mark
Oh
my
God,
words. As we
I
grow,
would die.
we're gonna bring him on. What do you got?
My last story is Horizon World that can now be accessible via Instagram and Facebook. So this is massive. As we know, their sister company, and just on Instagram alone, they have 2 billion monthly active users. So I know we talk about Roblox being a huge platform with 100 million daily active users, but this is now unlocking a huge addressable audiences for developers. The negative of Meta Horizon, it was like always on its own and a bit siloed. But now that it's connected to Instagram, I think this is a platform that a lot of developers really need to think about, I guess, more strategically. Because I think the addressable audience is huge now compared to what it used to be. And as we know, they've launched a creator program earlier this year, sorry, at 50 million. So they're really pushing to be able to have a large audience, attract the largest talent, have a huge focus as well on mobile. As the last thing that they've released is a new AI tool as well that makes it even easier to develop via prompt, so you can develop the world a lot easier. There's still a little bit of technicality that you need to have, but I think they're really taking the example that they had on Instagram where they made it so much easier for people to edit their images, or what we've seen TikTok do with the editing system that they have to edit short videos. So I think they're really trying to lower the barrier to entry so that more people can essentially create well. Then it's more about their creativity as opposed to their technical skills. So they're really like, pushing in many directions to really scale this, and I'm really excited to go to MetaConnect this year so that we can see what other features they're going to do to make this even bigger. But what was your thought? I'm curious to hear what you think about the AI part on your end,
Yeah, I mean, the AI stuff, I have not really leveraged it, but I can speak from experience. We've already built one game, Yeet
which is
Yourself,
really
and
cool. Actually, I really
thank
liked it.
you. Yeah, it's getting a lot of traction and it's doing well in partnership with Immortal, the co-founder of that game. And yeah, I can just my perspective on Meta Horizon, like you said, is you need to take it seriously because it's owned by Meta. They own the biggest social media platforms in the world. They're connecting the game into that. You could see a world where the audience sort of melds together, and then you
Yeah,
have these really big numbers. And it's an exciting time to be involved because we're a developer there. Sawhorse is building another game right now, and we're sort of tapped in. And Meta is really leaning in to support those developers
yeah,
and really like on the roadmap. There's all kinds of exciting new features coming out. Like it's a young sort of platform, but it's like it's going through this metamorphosis right now. And so, I agree. We'll be at Connect, and I think they're going to have some pretty awesome announcements. And
Oh,
I
I'm
think
excited.
we're going to start hearing about Meta Horizon more in the news in the next like year or two for
I
sure.
think so. I think so. What do you have next?
So my last story is all about Crunchyroll coming to Delta Airlines. And so we know that in-flight entertainment on these airlines has come a long way over the years. I remember back in the day, date myself right now, but there would just be like one movie that played at a certain time on a big
Yeah,
screen that everyone had to kind of like deal with together.
those were the
Um,
days.
yeah, back in the day. But yeah, now we have live streaming, Spotify, Paramount Plus, and now we've got Crunchyroll. And so people that don't know Crunchyroll, they essentially are the largest anime streaming platform owned by Sony. They're essentially like the Netflix of anime.
Hmm.
And so this will be playing on all the screens inside of the airplanes, but also if you have your own device, you basically get a 24-hour all access pass, so you can watch it both like on the plane and then also when you leave. It's a great way to sort of get new subscribers and kind of like get the brand out there. So I thought it was exciting. I
Yeah.
thought it was, impactful, and I think it's reinforcing that concept that anime is so massive in pop culture that you can't ignore it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, it's silly to say, but I think the content that you have, I feel like this is part of a like an airline strategy. I feel like Emirates and Virgin are the two that were initially fighting to get always the best films or like always the best quality experiences, etc. for individuals. So I think it's quite interesting to see Delta like going into what would people, I think it can make or break. Maybe it's anecdotal, but I feel like it can make or break if you have two flights, there's the same like, I don't know, prices range, but you know that one has like better content for like your long haul. I feel this is part of like the process of you deciding, I know that Delta Airline has actually better film, better quality, better entertainment, so I might do that. So I think it's very strategic for them to always have like the best content or the best entertainment experience. So I think that's really smart of them.
I think that's a fair comment, although it doesn't apply to me because every time I fly, I roll with the Vision Pro, and I already download all the content, and I like blast myself into my own world when I'm on those flights. But yeah, good point. And
Yeah.
also, so Alban, you also took a trip recently.
I have
You traveled to McDonald's land on
uh,
Fortnite, right?
indeed.
I want to hear about that. It sounds
Yeah,
super trippy.
sounds good. Let's go into our real time review.
Let's go.
All right, so for our real-time review, I went into McDonaldland on Fortnite. So before, Nick, I give you a bit of a deep dive of the experience. I wanted to give our listeners a bit of an overview of the overall campaign because this is massive. So there's obviously a TV campaign that I think is running at the moment in the US, and it's all about McDonaldland and the resurgence of nostalgic characters that haven't been utilized since 20 years ago, I think. So this is a huge campaign with multiple different touch points and actually quite interestingly, a lot of immersive media in that one. For everyone that's not familiar, you should really check what are the McDonald's characters because I don't know how to explain them to you. But they are, they
Well, let's
are,
talk about them. Let's talk about them for a
you want
second
to
because
talk
they're
about them?
freaky old school characters that were
Yes,
essentially abandoned. And now this new campaign leans into nostalgia. It leans
exactly.
into lo-fi. It leans into authenticity that Gen Z can like relate to. But let's talk
Exactly.
about him. You got Ronald McDonald, who's like a freaky clown, and he
Yes.
hasn't changed. He's not updated. He's still in the same
Same
look.
character. Red, I think if you have phobia of clowns, this is going to be quite threatening because it's the typical, red hair, big red smile. And then you have Buddy. The thing is, like, I know them, but in French. So I had to actually learn them in English because they were there when I was really young and French. So yes, you have Ronald McDonald's, you have Buddy the early bud, you have Grimace,
Grimace.
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 No, it is Grimace, which
He's
is
my
the
favorite one. This
me
freaky
too, me
big
too.
purple dude that
Exactly.
makes no sense. I don't even know what he
No, but he's
represents.
just funny. There's Mayor McCheese and there's other characters, but they're the ones that are and that you can meet within the Fortnite island. And as you arrive, I think the first thing that's incredibly striking is the visuals. And sometimes, when you go inside a map, it can feel very like empty or very big. this is a map that the moment that you arrive, there's so many things to explore, so many nooks. And what they've done is that they created different areas that are related to the characters, and that's linked to a mini game. So you can engage with all of the characters, learn more a little bit about them, and then there's different mini games that allows you to earn XP points. And the competition is essentially you have to collect as many points as possible within a reduced amount of time so that you can unlock items. So there's a bit of a fight when you are in the island. So who is going to get as many points, play as many games as possible, so that you can essentially unlock this item.
What is the
So
item?
it's a McDonald arch guitar, so that you have it on your back.
Oh,
So
like
it's
a
quite cool.
back
And
bling?
then you have this massive statue at the entrance of your avatar. So I did manage to do it. So I was really
Nice.
proud that when I saw that the scoring and I won, I like rushed back to be able to like see that massive statue. So I feel like there is a little bit of like that touching upon that like competitive element without having the shooter elements that you like quite known and why you go on Fortnite. So when I look at like I guess the pros, I would say I went to Meta Horizon as well just to compare, because they are the two same maps. And I think this is when you realize like it is unbeatable when you have Unreal now on Fortnite. The visuals are absolutely incredible. Just going inside the water was crazy. Like it is such a beautiful, colorful, nostalgic environment. So I really recommend just for that to go. I would say it's more probably for social casual player as opposed to shooter game people that want to have that adrenaline rush. This is more of a calm gameplay. I did like there was a lot of elements within the games that were better if you did it with friends. So I think there was a lot of like social elements. And what I loved is when I came in, quickly I started talking to people in there. So I think that they really played on like the social side of Fortnite, which I thought was really good. And again, I think something that I've mentioned before, but there's so much on there's so much on the island. There's so many like little secret passages, little nooks. Like it feels like there's a lot to explore. However, I think when I was trying to think about like the cons and like how does this island I think performs against the other, I did have a bit of a question marks around. I think there's still always a challenge when you launch your own experiences of the longevity of this. I think I can see myself play maybe once or twice, but I think after a few hours, I'll probably extend the resources and the content that is on the map. So I do wonder if they're planning on releasing more, and otherwise there's a bit of a lack of longevity, I think, for this. And then I think the other thing I was thinking is probably there's going to be, when you're launching a game like that's more casual, not shooter game, non-violent, I think this is still very difficult to pierce through, because people that go on Fortnite are still very like PvP. They want to
They
play
have
with
certain
people.
expectations.
There's an expectation, like different rhythm, a different like stack of stress, like, and like there's almost like this anxiety of like winning competition that you want to have when you're playing Fortnite. And I don't know if this is like giving that, and I'm not sure if this is. I think it's appealing to like a section, probably the people that like to play Lego and probably people that like to play casual game. I think this is a bit more of like addressing to like that side of the Fortnite audience. And again, I think it was probably like I was trying to think again of the longevity, where after you've talked to the character, I think I would have liked to see probably another core game loop where you are able to where you are like, I think something where you can play again and again and again, where I feel like after a while, once you've unlocked everything, I thought that I was a bit concerned about like the longevity of that game afterwards. But something that I thought was really innovative, and I think that you would like, Nick, because there is a IRL connection and it's only available in the US, so you should really do it.
Do
Uh,
tell.
but there is this secret lab that I couldn't access to that can only be unlocked via purchasing a real life McDonaldland meal. So you can do that. You then get a card with a code that allows you to then pin in that code, and it unlocks this like secret labs where you have items that you can't get essentially. The only thing, and again, this is more of like an issue of Fortnite, is that the items that you get, because of the economy of Fortnite, you can't get them out of the island. And this is just, I think, something that Fortnite at some point is going to have to resolve, specifically when they talk about building a metaverse. Like, if you can't just take your items outside of the game while you stay within the platform, it's going to be a problem. So here, less of the, it's not the fault of McDonald's, but it's a limitation of how much do you want to grind when you can only use it within one environment.
That sounds super cool. I mean, I agree. It's unfortunate you can't create a bunch of items and share them and go across all the whole platform. But I think that design of, IRL connectivity is interesting. I think this weekend I will go get some Happy
Go
Meals
get
for
it.
my
Even like
kids
just
and
the
myself.
packaging looks sick. Like I really love the packaging of like because they have a whole new bag for it. So I was watching TikToks of US influencers trying out the whole meal, and it looks really cool. I think your kids are gonna love it.
Nice. Well, thank you for that deep dive and that real-time review of the McDonaldland on Fortnite. So let's dive a little bit deeper and let's go chat to Ryan Norrington, who was the creative director at Metavision for this project. So let's go hear what he has to say.
Let's go into it.
Okay, so we're here with Ryan Norrington, creative director at Metavision. Metavision is a creative agency and studio with a focus on bringing brands and broadcasters into the UGC gaming space to engage with new audiences. They've made an impact on both Roblox and Fortnite with IPs like Hell's Kitchen, One Piece, the Mentos Bazooka, and most recently, McDonald's Land on Fortnite, which we're going to talk about today. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Great to be on.
Awesome. So let's jump into the first question. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about how Metavision came about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, Nick, you gave a pretty good, pretty thorough introduction all round. I guess you could describe me as a traditional ad creative that kind of saw the light a little bit. I started I dropped out of a computer science degree to go to art school. That classic story. I started very much in the world of wanting to create quippy TV ads and print ads. Kind of over time, I mean, games have formed such a big part of the person I am today. Like stories I've kind of experienced in the communities I've been a part of, playing games like Halo and Battlefield as I was growing up. It kind of made me realize that games have impacted me far more than any print ad or TV ads I've ever watched have been able to do so. So I'd say about 2 or 3 years into my career, I started really kind of pushing gaming as an advertising platform, and eventually I switched gears from my role at Mediacom as a creative at Mediacom, joined Metavision, and here we are today. So Metavision was founded via a kind of venture program from ITV. So ITV is a big commercial broadcaster in the UK. Basically, young people aren't watching TV much anymore, and less young people are going to watch TV as time goes on. For a company like ITV TV's even in the name, for that to survive long term, then it needs to bring its IP to platforms where young people are actually spending time. So we were very much founded to solve that problem. And funnily enough, brands are having exactly the same problem. So the solution that works for TV also works for brands as well. So we work with everyone to answer that question.
I love that, and I think you were really ahead of the curve, already identifying as a gamer that a lot of the impact of the game stories that you found were a lot more memorable than the one that you could see on TV, and I think that's something that we're seeing more brands picking up on. I don't want to wait too much, so I would love for us to jump straight into your recent project, McDonaldland. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project, but also the full campaign, and how did Fortnite fits into this?
Yeah, let's go for it. Before I can talk about McDonaldlands, I mean, people will kill me if I don't give the proper shout out. So,
Of
like
course.
we were a very small part of that campaign. There was loads and loads and loads of people working on that. Obviously, you had the absolutely amazing creative from Wyden and Kennedy, and also McDonald's. It is quite a bold move to bring back a piece of creative that's been out of the spotlight for over 22 years. We worked with Fandom. Fandom were the guys that briefed us in on the project based on our previous work. We then worked with 3D Lab, who we
Nice.
absolutely love as the build team, and then also Moisty Media, who just produce absolutely killer trailers and NPCs as well. So obviously the McDonaldland campaign is absolutely massive, and I think even now I'm only discovering parts of it that I didn't even know were going to happen. So obviously there's the absolutely massive TV ad. I reckon if you're in the US at some point, you're going to see McDonaldland. It's going to be inescapable. Um, you've got the absolutely massive TV campaign. It's on pretty much every social network. I think there's a Lyft sponsorship as well, and there's also a United Airlines sponsorship. So if you're getting on a flight, you're seeing McDonaldland on the screen in front of you. And then also it's in pretty much every McDonald's store. So it's pretty much inescapable. All of those kind of touch points serve as a door to McDonaldland. And all of those doors kind of serve a different purpose.
Mhm.
The kind of idea with Fortnite was really playing to the strengths of the platform. So obviously McDonaldland is an absolutely massive piece of IP. It's existed since the 1970s. There's a lot to communicate to an audience, and Fortnite is a really good way to get someone's undivided attention for a long time, but then also let them experience a story at their own pace. So the TV ads has to show all of McDonaldland. In Fortnite, people can only go to the bits of McDonaldland that they find interesting, which is a great way to get familiar with something, basically.
What was the creative process on bringing this island to life from scratch? And, both from like a visual and art direction standpoint, but also from like a game design standpoint.
Yeah. So we use the term process very, very loosely. So we're very much of the opinion that the rule book is still being written in this space. It's such a new space. We're all just kind of trying things and seeing if they work and building learning upon learning to hopefully get to a point where maybe one day there can be a rule book, but there isn't a rule book yet. I think two things drive the way we design at Metavision. I think the first thing is always people. Building the right team for the job is so important. And really deciding that as early on in the process. Like I'd say most of what makes an experience good or bad, we can draw back to the first 2 weeks of the process and making sure that's done right. So a big part of this was choosing the right builders for it. And, you know, we keep quite a small core team at Metavision because it pays to be adaptable. And there's quite a lot of people out there that have very, very niche skill sets that sometimes you need to tap into. For McDonald's, very specifically, we went for 3D Lab just because we've had such a long relationship with them. And because McDonaldland was going to be something where we would have to like test out quite a lot of new stuff on, and we'd have to make quite a lot of intuitive decisions. There wasn't really a clear brief we could set at the start. It was very kind of playful development process. And we know 3D Lab will be very, very honest with us. Sometimes absolutely savagely honest with us. They are not afraid to tell us when we're suggesting something that won't work. And to be honest, we wouldn't have it any other way. We don't know what they're like with other clients. They might be they probably are more polite with other clients, but I think with us, we love the relationship we have with them. It's just absolutely zero BS. And that's exactly what we needed to make McDonaldland what it is.
Yeah, I can definitely agree, and I love brutal, honest feedback because once you launch a game, if it doesn't perform well, it's like you wish you would have had that honest feedback
Mm-mm.
earlier. So
Yeah.
rip the band-aid off, like what's working, what isn't, just be honest with me, right?
Exactly.
100%. I'd prefer the build team to be honest than the players to be honest after we've launched it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that follows really well with my next question, which is how do you, I guess, your process with McDonald's, but also other brands, how do you balance the brand identity and how, you know, they want to be perceived, but also how the players want to play inside the platform and probably would want to play with that brand? What was that process like and with McDonald's, but also like other brands?
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of identify myself as a little bit of a Fortnite old timer here,
Okay.
but um,
OG player.
very, we very much try to not design for Fortnite. We very much try to not like inject some artificial Fortnite culture into the experience. The best way we've found to combine the two worlds is to lean into the limitations of the platform. So back in the pre-UEFN days, it's hard to imagine now, but there was quite a lot of charm in the way things were approached. So, I mean, I remember working with build teams to have to build a logo out of primitive shapes. Like today, you could just drag in a 3D asset, but back then you had to build the logo with primitive shapes. You had to put that on an island, and then you had to get a portal to that island with that kind of build as the thumbnail. It was really, really hard to do. But those limitations meant we could do a campaign like Timberland, for instance, and
Yep.
the Timberland campaign wouldn't actually be possible today because it leaned into the fact that you could only build using existing Fortnite assets, and we were able to build 3 different Timberland boots just from those assets, and we were able to create things that look very, very unique because of the limitations of the platform. If we were doing that today, it would probably be just too tempting to hire in a 3D artist
Yeah.
and build something that doesn't feel very Fortnite.
That's well put. What about like creative challenges when you were putting this together? Were there any notes or feedback from the brand that surprised you of things that you could do or couldn't do that was brand safe for them?
I've got a really anticlimactic answer for this one. McDonaldland is probably the most straightforward project we've ever worked on. Purely because all of the pieces were listening to each other. All of the pieces felt free to speak up about their opinions and about the way they thought things should go. But then also every piece of the puzzle was happy to sit back and let the experts and listen to each other's expertise. So there's always like the kind of classic, like inescapable creative, like, you know, issues. Like we had to kind of take Ronald McDonald, which is quite Ronald McDonald has a lot of different faces, and some of them are slightly more welcoming than others. And we had to kind of find a way to balance that image, and it's such a valuable piece of IP. And it was quite scary trying to bring that to Fortnite. But again, us sitting back and letting Moisty Media kind of almost hold our hand through that process, and us, you know, feeding back from the client and balancing all of that stuff because everyone was listening to each other. It was just super straightforward.
Makes
Nice.
sense.
That makes a lot of sense. In your opinion, how do you see, this is my last question, how do you see the Fortnite creative landscape evolving like in the next year or so for brands?
It has to adapt pretty quickly. There are a lot of external factors rapidly approaching in the mirror. So obviously you have got Halo coming up. Halo are switching to Unreal Engine. I'd be very, very surprised if the granddaddy of UGC experiences, which was Halo Forge, I'd be very surprised if we don't see an Unreal editor for Halo. So brands are going to have to contend with that. GTA 6, obviously,
Yep.
like GTA 6 is just such a massive elephant in the room. If they want to have the same success they had with GTA Online for like 10 years, in a world of Fortnite and Roblox, I don't think the one studio can deliver enough content for that. So again,
Ever.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a UGC element of GTA 6. And that's going to completely like warp the scale. So if Fortnite creators want to remain relevant, they're going to have to find something that only Fortnite can do. They're going to have to diversify away from PvP combat experiences.
Yeah.
And hopefully kind of discover the next battle royale or the next grower garden on Fortnite that only Fortnite can
Can do.
deliver.
That makes so much sense. I agree with you with GTA. I feel like it's however the elephant that keeps escaping. So let's see when when it actually launches. But I think a lot of UGC platform there's a lot of signals that they are going to go the UGC route. So definitely something that's I'm sure a lot of creators are already thinking about what they would do in there. And then my last question, I guess in line with that, is what does success look like on Fortnite? Because I think you've done many campaigns within the platform. Is there any case study that comes to mind for our listeners that will give them a sense of what does the return on investment can look like? We spoke about session times being higher. Is there any other?
Yeah. I would be, again, completely remiss to not mention Mentos Bazooka as a kind of great case study for
We love
return
that
on
one.
investment.
So good.
So I mean, Stuart Phil, Already brands in play, celebrities. So I mean, the Fazooka has been well spoken about, but I guess we can kind of give our perspective of why we think it was successful. So return on investment, like when you kind of break it down, return on investment happens when you give someone something they value more than what it cost you to make it. That's how you generate return on investment. So we in the creative, we have to think about how, not just how we're providing value to the client and to the agencies we're working with, but the best way to generate it is provide value to the actual end player. And that's very much what Fazooka did. So we kind of took a fairly underrepresented part of the Fortnite community, which is the part of the community that just hates the build mechanics. They just
It's me.
preach. I mean, I made the Fazooka for myself, basically. I like that's how we got to the gameplay mechanic of it. So they're kind of quite traditionally underserved. They can either play in a non-build game mode, but if they want to play with, the rest of the Fortnite community, there's nothing they can really do to destroy player built structures. So it was very much about identifying that gap in the game and providing an actually useful new feature, just like Epic Games would in an update. And yeah, I mean, obviously people responded really, really well to it. We got obviously got a massive amount of organic content generated from it because the anti-build community felt heard, which was quite nice.
Advocated for.
Exactly. 12 million shots fired in 2 weeks, and then I imagine the advertising community liked it as well because we walked away with 2 Cannes Lions for that one, which was
It's great signal.
which was nice. And I really hope in the future for kind of award shows like that, much more awards can go to Fortnite and Roblox creators because it's just such a fertile platform. It reaches so many people. It really isn't an innovation budget play anymore. It's a kind of core media plan play. Just like social, just like TV, the audience is just as big, the opportunity is just as big.
Well said. Well, congrats on that, and congrats on McDonaldland. You guys are smashing it right now. Excited to see it, and we appreciate your time, Ryan.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Ryan,
Thanks for
for
having me
being
on
with
Brands
us.
in Play.
Thank you.
Toodaloo.
Awesome. Well, that was great talking to Ryan. I think my takeaway from that was that he just kind of confirmed to me how important it is to understand what the community wants out of these experiences and listening to them, as they were trying to figure out, like, are we making an owned experience? Are we doing integrations? What is the game design that the players will actually, want to do? So it sounds like they had a lot of deep thought around that. And yeah, I'm bullish to see how it performs.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing that I thought was really impressive in general with the campaign is that multi-layered touch points that they had for McDonald's, like launching down like multiple platform at the same time. And I think this is something that we're going to see a lot more brands doing, where when there is this huge TV campaign that there's going to be Fortnite, there's going to be Roblox, there's going to be Snapchat, there's going to be a lot of like different immersive media that's just part of the marketing mix. So I thought that was really impressive. And I agree with you where I really liked Ryan's approach from a creative standpoint. I think I didn't realize, when I came in, that there was so much that they made sure that they only kept a little bit of like the Fortnite Creative 1.0. And I really loved that nod. And I think I didn't realize how much like detail went into it, and I thought that was really interesting to like speak to him. And again, kudos for their Timberland activation. If you haven't seen it,
Old school.
it's old school, and it's so hard because you had to create a boot with like trees. So very like
That's innovative.
creativity
That's
comes when there's restriction, and I think they really proved that. So really great to speak to Ryan about it.
Yeah, that was a dope story, and great to have him on. But let's jump on to our next segment. I know this one is the ball's in your court this week, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say, but let's go to hit, miss, and bet.
Hit, miss, and bet this week. So my hit, and I don't know if we're gonna get bored to talk about Italian brand Rob, but I feel like I had to
Never.
mention this because I'm getting bored. But we spoke about Grow a Garden and how this was like the biggest game and that it broke all times record in terms of attendance and in terms of visits. Um, very sad to say that it's been dethroned and we now have a new king, which is still a brain rot, which is an experiences that is based on the Italian brain rot. Just to give you some like context, just this week it had 2.1 billion visits,
Sheesh.
compared to Grow a Garden that had 1.7 billion and still massive, still huge, but 2.1 billion visit. This is insane. And the average active player this month was 1.2 million. So this is unbelievable numbers to think about. So that was my hate. My miss is actually another campaign from McDonald's, but this time in Japan. It could be the biggest hit and the biggest miss at the same time. So they did a collaboration with Pokemon where when you bought a Happy Meal, you had a collectible card. And one of the cards went viral. So it was Pikachu eating a hamburger or aiming to like eat a hamburger. Went viral. So people started buying like 20 Happy Meals to get the card and have a chance because you were not, it was a loot. So you weren't sure that you were going to get this. So they bought so many Happy Meals and then threw the food like on like in the trash. So
That's
within
messed
20,
up.
this is horrible. So McDonald's really well, like responded really well where they shut it down after 24 hours because obviously they don't stand for food waste and they just didn't expect for people to react like this. And they're going to rethink about how they can reframe that so that that doesn't happen again. So, I mean, obviously a lot of appetite, but it is a miss because it had to be pulled out after 24 hours.
Yeah, I think
And
that's an ongoing problem as sort of fandom explodes and more people are so excited about lore and IP. It's like you come out with these limited integrations into Happy Meals that people just want that thing, and
yeah,
there's food attached to it. So you're
I
gonna
feel
bump
like,
into this problem again.
well, I think what they could do is that every time, like every week, for example, you have a card that's changing, but whatever happened, you have that card. Because I think what happened here is that people didn't, they were gambling. So they were like they was not sure that they were gonna get the car. So where I feel like if every week, because I get the strategy, they want to make sure that people come back to like buy again and buy again, but just do it every week where you have a new release. Because otherwise, it creates that kind of like tension where people are just buying for, and McDonald's is not expensive. Well, that collectible in the future might make more money, so they just invest in it.
Makes sense. I mean, they should just have like a system with like a big loading trucks where people just go in there like, give me 15 Happy Meals, and they just take the toys out. They go on the trucks and they go straight to like homeless facilities,
Yeah, okay,
where they
yeah, they
start
could have done
giving
that.
free food out to the community.
I mean, there's different ways that they can like could have approached this for sure. And my bet for this week is with Meta new creator assistant. Sorry, I think that we're not too far to essentially be at the same as what TikTok has done for editing videos. I think Meta is probably going to be the leaders when it comes to making it as easy as creating a video on TikTok as it is now to create a game on Meta Horizon. I think we're going to be very close, where you're essentially it's just about the creativity and the idea and not the technical skills. So that's my bet. Big bet, but I feel like they're making big waves in the AI side, and I think this is really exciting because that means more people can become developers and can create content and really cool stories. So I'm really excited about this.
I'm not sure if I agree with you there.
No,
I
I'm
think
sure.
that
I knew we were going to have a debate about this.
I think that maybe we'll get there eventually, but I think that it's going to be difficult for the average person to make a really exciting game with a core loop and all the things needed for it to go, be a hit.
I
But
agree.
I will say this, in the short term, I think that you're right in the sense that people will make very simple social games or social hangout
Hmm.
spaces automatically and then invite their friends to it. And then that's its own sort of like low touch game. I could see a lot of people doing that in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I think like I always see like everyone, everyone can write everyone can write and everyone can write a book, but not everyone can write Harry Potter. So I think it's not about like the tool, and I feel like you're always going to have game developers that just get it, like get the craft, these are like different, like you have to be incredibly creative when you're creating a game. Otherwise it's just like a room and it's just pretty, but there's nothing else to do. So I think what I mean is probably like people with that creativity. I'm just excited to see more people coming into the business. And if they have this creative idea, and if you can lower the barrier to entry, maybe people have already the idea of like a cool game or a cool idea, but they just never learn how to build a game. So I'm just excited to see more creative in there. But I agree with you where, the people that have learned and crafted this, they're always going to they're already like 10 years ahead because they know what works. But I'm just excited to see more people getting into it.
That's fair, and I agree. I'm excited to learn more at Connect in a few weeks.
Mm-mm. Well, that is it for this week, everyone. I wanted to thank again Ryan Norrington from Metavision for joining us and coming on the show. And thank you so much for listening. This is our 28th week on Brands in Play. So thank you again for tuning in.
That's right, and we appreciate you. If there's a topic or a certain guest that you want us to bring on the show, let us know, and we'll do our best to make it happen.
And next week, I'm going to go on holiday for a long 2-week trip. So I'm really excited to take the time off. We have a very special surprise guest co-host. So I'm excited for Nick to introduce him to him.
That's right. And we'll be speaking to Alex Weschler, the head of studios at 100 Thieves. And if you're not familiar with 100 Thieves, they're essentially one of the top lifestyle and gaming brands, dominating esports, entertainment, and apparel.
Sorry to miss it. I think I'm going to have to tune in for that one because I love 100 Thieves, so I'm really excited for this one. But that is it. I am out. Please, Edward, read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Hosted by Albane and Nick Hill. Our show today was produced by myself, Eddie Regu, with creative direction by Joey Jerder and Jawed Kazmi, and audio engineering by Samran Q, as well as a massive shout out to Ben Caro. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.